Hi there, this is Jackie from Bloom Property Management. I am doing this post today because we've been talking to a couple of people lately about what their why is for getting into investment property. And their why is not, oh, well, I wanted to have property. It's more about what they want to do with it at the end of its life cycle or at the end of their life cycle, as it may be. So things that people might be getting into investment property for is to get capital gain, and that's really popularized by the media. There's an assumption that all properties go up in value and then you get to sell them and have a big lump of cash in which to reinvest or live off or whatever. Now that's just one way though. Most long-term property investors I know are in it for cash flow. So they're buying the property and over time the rents increase and their costs decrease because they've made wise decisions about their repairs and maintenance and improvements over time. And eventually their rent increases to the point where it covers their expenses. It doesn't necessarily happen from day one, but it may take many years, but eventually they can use that surplus rent beyond their repairs and maintenance and reinvestment back into the property to live off and supplement whatever other income they have in retirement. And that's another way. Third possibility is that they're doing renovations and flipping them for a profit. So they buy a property that might need some improvements, they do those improvements, and then they sell it for a profit. And that works really well in a rising market, but is risky in a softening market. So you need to know what stage of the property cycle you're in, or the property clock, as Kieran Trace puts it. So, there's another strategy. A lot of people, though, don't really have a strategy. They just buy property because they think it's going to do them well, but they're not really clear on how that's going to be. Those people don't tend to be long-lasting as investors. They tend to get out after a few years of finding it frustrating and not achieving whatever their vague goals were. Don't be one of those people. So by knowing your investment why, it helps you buy the right property for that. So for instance, if you're after a capital gain property, you probably don't want to buy an apartment building because apartments tend to only be as valuable as they are until the newer block of apartments are built. There is no limit to the amount of airspace we have, so the taller they can be built, the more apartments that can be fit in, devaluing all other apartments. So unless it's got some specific and unique thing about it that makes it special and maintain its value, it's unlikely to be so. So most capital gain people gain their capital gain through the value of the land that their property sits on. So if it's going to be in an area that's growing in value, then they're more likely to see capital gain even if the building itself, devalues over time. Hopefully that won't happen, but we've all seen examples of essentially abandoned and derelict properties selling for an extraordinary sum of money in a rising market. And cash flow is what I think is the most sustainable, and that is where you buy a property and you may need to top up the rent for a while to cover your expenses, your rates, your insurance, your interest on your mortgage, repairs and maintenance, improvements, all that kind of stuff, vacancies, so on. But eventually the rent will get to a level where that overtakes that, and hopefully your expenses will decrease over time as you make wise improvements and buy appliances that last and all that kind of stuff. And so eventually you have surplus rent, and that can supplement your other income sources such as a pension into retirement. So there's some ways that wise people would invest in property and what they'd get out of it, and knowing those really helps choose the right sort of property to buy in the first place. So I hope that helps you make wise investment decisions with your properties. All the best out there, and follow me for more.